dozens of countries, hundreds of cities, millions of people. One man, now in the palm of your hand, on any device. For over 60 years, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has dedicated his life to spreading the message of freedom, justice, and equality to people all over the world. Log in to NFA Studios and get unlimited access to a vast library of his life's work, plus never released lectures, interviews, and exclusive content. With new releases every week, NFA Studios is your one-stop destination for spiritual and mental upliftment. And now, introducing NFA original content, featuring shows such as Dinner with the Minister, How to Eat to Live cooking show, 40 Miles, the series.
In this series, we're going to look at the history of the Nation of Islam,
Food Nation, and much more. The wait is over. Welcome to the evolution. Welcome to NFA Studio.
The importance of oral history in the history of any society, the history of any movement, nation, civilization, is that you talk to the people who walk through this part of history. It gives the people a sense of the history. And the sense of history is to look at that history. Its meaning to you as an individual, but how does that history impact on what you're doing right now?
In this series, we're going to look at the history of the Nation of Islam, this growing nation that has defied all odds, producing world leaders and icons.
This history that's facts.
I saw something that I had never seen before.
Most of what I'm saying now, not too many people have heard it unless I told it to a person.
No one really knows our roots like we do.
40 Miles represents the mission. It represents the love one must have to embark on this mission. It represents courage, faith, belief, and the willingness to struggle against opposition to walk the uphill road.
This problem is to be solved by God, and the solution of the problem has been given to me.
What is the truth about the Nation of Islam in North America? We'll unveil it all here. Welcome to 40 Miles.
Welcome to Food Nation. We're going to be traveling cities across the country, tasting the best of foods nationwide. The food is here! She put flowers in the chicken, son.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get out of here, man.
Greetings. My name is Sister Hania, and welcome to How to Eat to Live. On this show, we will be gaining the fundamental knowledge of cooking with the Muslims, as taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Log on right now, www.finalcall.com. Get that book. We are going to incorporate the navy bean. We're going to do a navy bean smoothie, which is a protein smoothie made from fruit and also navy beans. We're going to do a navy bean hummus, kind of a snack, little appetizer dessert. And then we're going to do some navy bean soup, which is the staple in every Muslim household.
When we think of marriage, everyone has their own idea of what the ideal marriage looks like. A man and a woman and their children. You see the woman and she's so in love, and the man can't take his eyes off of her. So we know what it's supposed to look like on the outside, but there's a lot that goes into having the ideal relationship. Are we strong enough to go through the struggles to find love on the other side? Why even go into something knowing that you'll face difficulties? Since the beginning, there's always been a man and a woman. So I guess you can say that since it's always been here, that love is as natural as breathing. So it's a struggle, but it's an uphill struggle. The ability to love through the darkness, love in black.
Getting married, according to what we have learned from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as the scriptures of Bible and Holy Quran, marriage, Prophet Muhammad said, is one half of faith. So if faith is the spiritual journey that one goes from being what is called worthless water or sperm into a process of evolving to becoming a reflection of God. If marriage is half of faith, then marriage is half of that journey to become one with God, bearing witness to the Bible and that statement of Prophet Muhammad. The male and the female were created two twin halves of a single essence. Well, if man and woman was created in pairs, what would you call a person that only had one eye or one leg? They are called handicapped. So when a man is without a woman, he's handicapped. And when a woman is without a good man, she's handicapped. So getting married makes you a complete you.
Okay, so where were we?
How we met?
We met in middle school.
First time that I seen Aisha was at Savior's Day.
We met at the gym.
We first met when I was 15 years old and she was 13 years old.
Do you want to tell the how we met story? Because we both tell it differently.
Okay, I'll start.
Through NFA, our own platform, the people will be able to meet the minister, see the minister, experience the minister. The teaching is there and it will resist now because it's the truth. It can't be bent. This is the platform. So may Allah bless NFA. May Allah bless all those who would work on behalf of the vision and let the vision continue to expand.
Never fall again. Never fall again.
America was not built on a firm foundation. The nation called America was doomed from its inception. How do you build a nation? Killing the native people. How do you build a nation? Bringing a whole people out of Africa to America to be made slaves. This is your foundation. The world is looking at a country going to hell. You are opting to be a part of that is unraveling right in front of your eyes. You see the country cascading downward.
This is America.
Why do you want to get into something that is coming to an end? So we are living in the time of the unraveling of this great nation.
Welcome to the Foodie Spot. My name is Sister Carmela Muhammad, and we are a proud sponsor of Doing the Math with Dr. Wesley. I come to you in preparation for possible hard times. We've been told to store food in our home by the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan, so you can also come to the Foodie Spot and get your navy bean soup, vegetable medley soup, and lentil bean soup, pressure cooked canned. In addition to that, I have dried navy beans. We also have frozen dinners prepared that you can actually store it in your freezer for those times. Pull them out, warm them up, cook them. We also have our natural antibiotic, which consists of fresh ginger root, turmeric root, garlic, and horseradish. We are also shipping our natural antibiotics in addition to our navy beans, red lentil, vegetable medley, and bean pies. For shipping, call 773-420-3948. Again, for shipping, call 773-420-3948. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Good evening, powerful creators, and welcome back to Doing the Math with Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I'm your host, Janita Harris, and for the past 2 days, we have been going over the death of Michael Jackson. We've learned a lot, but right now we are going to bring on Dr. Wesley. It's really great to see you again.
How's it going, Sister Janita?
It's going great. So these past 2 days, we've learned a lot. We've learned about A&G's world records relationship with Michael Jackson, why they needed the death to occur on the 25th. We learned a lot about NAMBLA, which is the North America Man-Boy Love Association, which is absolutely crazy. Interesting when go ahead.
I said it's insane, isn't it?
It is insane. I actually typed in NAMBLA earlier today, and I saw an article from Forbes in 2010 that says reportedly Mark Zuckerberg joined joined the organization, which is
Forbes
I don't know how true that is. Yeah, Forbes said that. It was a October 17th, 2010 article, and it said that supposedly he joined the group, and it talked a lot about privacy and things like that. But it's interesting because I typed it in today, and I'm like, oh, we're streaming this on Facebook. So
That's interesting. I did not know that Forbes is a pretty reputable publication. I was not familiar with that, but it does not surprise me in the least. The Jewish gay mafia.
Yeah, Andy Greenberg, former staff of Forbes actually wrote that article. So I thought that was interesting because over the past 2 days, we've learned a lot about how wealthy elite who are tied to Hollywood have all these exemptions to where they can create organizations that people are aware of and don't even have to hide. They're in plain sight doing what they're doing, but their money protects them.
That's right. Very interesting.
Indeed. But today's show is going to be a little interesting. So over the past 2 days, we've covered all those things in details, as well as today, we're going to actually show people what our talk back looked like with our live audience, which is going to be nice because there's probably some questions that some of our live viewers had, but might not have had the words to articulate in the ways in which they did. Or there are questions that they didn't have at all, but now that someone just asked, they're like, oh my gosh, I definitely want to know that too. So that's what today's episode is going to look like. And then, of course, afterwards, we will have about an hour talk back, allowing all of our live audience to ask questions. And if you are one of our awesome Patreons, no one's taken us up on this offer yet, but if you are a Patreon and you want to join the show live, you can do that and join us live.
Stop being scared.
Yeah, just do it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. But
this was a great experience. This was something new that we tried. First, the segment we're showing the talk back at the end of the live taping. That was an awesome audience that we had. I really enjoyed the audience. The energy was great, and the conversation after was great, which I think our audience tonight will see. Thank you, Sister Janita, for driving this vehicle over these 3 days. It was a new experience for us, and I greatly enjoyed it.
I have too, and I'm really excited about today's show because I think this gets all of our live viewers who've never had the opportunity to come check out our show in person. You get to see how awesome it is and how personable. There's food, there's networking opportunities, and I mean, what else are you gonna do on a Thursday?
And when this Corona clears out and we get back in the studio live, we're going to invite the audience again. We're going to have more great live audiences, inshallah, once this damn Corona clears out.
Indeed. So for all of you guys out there, I know you're wondering, oh my gosh, how can I be a part of it? Well, once Corona is over and we're at our live studio again, you are officially invited to come check us out in person, and we would deeply enjoy your energy and love to have you guys all there. It's super awesome. And yeah, so I'm super excited for what we're about to go into today.
As am I.
So if you haven't already, please share this live stream. We're going to go into part 3 of the Vindication of Michael Jackson on how to kill a god. Well, we're very grateful that you all are here. And with the information that was presented, let's give the opportunity for you all to ask Dr. Wesley questions.
Sister Janita. Oh, okay. Good doctor. I'm Ursula Phoenix. Would you support the theory that the upsurge in the social acceptance of what progressive means in America are things like acceptance of, the Gay Rights Act that was passed in 2016, giving same-sex marriage allowance through the 14th Amendment, that really is just a proxy law to allow for the lowering of the age of consent. It's my assertion that the laws as stated for gay rights or gay marriage is really just a proxy law to allow for NAMBLA and NAMBLA supporters, which I would consider practice deceivers. They're practice deceivers of our children in our community, using, Black men as the poster child for what effeminization of the male is that pedophilia is just is the next step with the age of consent law. So here in the state of Illinois, the age of consent for sex is 17. However, we have hard data to prove that human trafficking and pedophilia and the grooming occurs prepubescent. We know that if a child survives physical abuse by the age of 3, they'll probably survive into early childhood. And we have hard data to prove that the prime age for molestation to basically flip, or as we say, turn a child out, is the age of 8, which is prepubescent. Would you say that the age of consent is really where the pedophilia community is going to marry our children?
Greetings to you, Sister Ursula, and shout out Father Flager. Saint Sabina. Very great question and observation. The age of consent laws and what does it say of pedophilia? We quote here in the discussion of Evan Chandler, the father of Jordan Chandler, the first false accuser. After Evan Chandler fell into the clutches, if you will, of Victor Gutierrez and the pedophile agenda. And part of the importance to the pedophile agenda is rehabilitating child molestation as pedophilia, right? Man-boy love. In the conversation, the secretly recorded conversation between Evan Chandler and David Schwartz, that point comes up. And you hear Evan Chandler reciting the position of NAMBLA and the pedophile agenda and saying age doesn't matter. So, pedophilia, to normalize pedophilia, it is necessary to make age not matter. And this is why you alluded to it. You once Evan is conscripted into the pedophile agenda. His whole conversation with his son and Michael is in the context of the pedophile agenda. So, which goes out of its way to distinguish pedophilia from child molestation. So Evan Chandler, the first day he met Michael Jackson, he says, "Are you effing my son in the A?" Nah. Nigga, you touching my son? You abusing my son? Are you effing my son in the A? I just want to know. He asks later, a couple of days later, asks his son, gets his son Jordan, I said, "Hey, Jordy, are you and Michael doing it?" See, this isn't the language of a parent who is suspecting child abuse. And if you are suspecting a grown man is having sex with your son and you present it as a consensual thing, it's because you have a pedophile, have subscribed to the pedophile agenda. So he says specifically on the tape, well, no, the age ain't the problem. Age don't matter. Because that's a pedophile agenda. And this is why NAMBLA's name or their initials, they make the point of capital N, capital A, capital M, lowercase b, capital A, L, capital A. And the point, the capital M and the lowercase b, the point is grown man, young boy love. And so the propaganda piece that came out of that, Victor Gutierrez wrote a book, a propaganda piece for NAMBLA based on this case, and it's called My Lover, Michael Jackson. It's supposed to be, he's presenting Jordan Chandler and Michael Jackson's alleged sexual relationship not as child molestation, but as a love story. This is a love affair, and we should all embrace it. But of course, it's necessary to eradicate age of consent. So NAMBLA makes, and Evan Chandler in this case attempts to make a non-issue out of age of consent. So yes, the lowering of age of consent is absolutely, in my opinion, derives from the pedophile agenda. There's a gay agenda, and it's real. The pedophile agenda, and there's great interconnection between the gay agenda and the pedophile agenda. And the pedophile agenda needs to eradicate age of consent in order to normalize pedophilia, which is their goal, their admitted goal. Great question. Thank you for that.
Dominica McBride with Become. Thank you for sharing all of this and the research that you've done. There's so much to talk about and dig into, and so much to ask. But I guess the one question that I'll ask right now is around the underlying, or at least what you found in your research around the underlying agenda of targeting gods like Michael Jackson and our community in general. And so on one level, it's obvious that greed, right, is a part of it. Could you talk about on the other levels the purpose or the underlying driver of targeting?
That's a great question, because I do think there are higher levels of motive here, and what Michael Jackson represented to, and the threat that he represented to this culture, and which made it necessary to totally destroy Michael Jackson in life and in death. It was one thing for the white oligarchy, if you will, to wake up and notice that their white sons and daughters love this black man, Michael Jackson. Across the world, they loved it. Okay. That they dealt with that. Okay. They can use it and make money off of that, because only white people made money off of Michael Jackson. They made a lot of money off of Michael Jackson. But it was taken on another level, I would say, when three things happened, which made Michael a greater cultural threat to white supremacy. And so this is why this black god had to be eradicated, because it wasn't the king of pop. There was a threat to white supremacy. So three things, I think, take the context to a higher level. When he made the purchase of ATV, the company that held the catalog, that was the most genius, business-minded decision. And all of the geniuses around him, David Geffen, everybody told him, don't do that. But he paid the $47 million. And when he died, the catalog was worth $2 billion, or when he was murdered. But they saw that. So he showed, and this was in 1985, he showed his intellectual swagger with that marked him. But it was insulting, because all of the brilliant Walter Yetnikoff, David Geffen, all of the brains of the industry said, don't do that. He did it, and he intellectually one-upped them. But the real insult, I think, came in 2002, when he became such an insult to white supremacy. When he was in London, and to really pull up his comments, he spoke in July of 2002. It's after he's in New York, and he calls Tommy Mottola devilish. He does that piece with Al Sharpton, and Al Sharpton turns Negro and sells him out after. Then he goes to London, and he speaks to a fan club in London. And those comments are really important. He says two things that are real critical. One, he says, we need to terminate Tommy Mottola. And Tommy Mottola, not 6 months later, ends up being terminated by Sony, making Tommy Mottola an enemy for life of Michael Jackson. But what he said that insulted white supremacy so much is, he said this. He said, see, they are happy when I'm just singing and dancing. He said, why they are mad is because I outthought them. He said, I outthought them. And then he said elsewhere, he said, it wasn't until I exceeded the Beatles that they start saying, I don't want to be black, that they start saying, I'm gay. But when he said, or revealed, because he wasn't just saying it, it was truthful. I outthought them. Said they didn't think I can think, but I outthought them. See, the death of white supremacy is black excellence. And as long as Michael Jackson is a singer and dancer, he makes billions of dollars for them. They love that. He's good for white supremacy. But now this pro-black man outthought them. He became such an insult to white supremacy. And this is why he had to be murdered for his catalog. And a year after his murder, his estate in 1 year grossed $1 billion. And Randy Phillips is bragging in August. Randy Phillips, the Jewish CEO of AEG Live, is bragging a month after his murder of the fortune that AEG has made since his death. So they reap their greed is satiated, but they are doing everything to make sure every statue of Michael Jackson is torn down, right? That's the whole point of Neverland. They're not making any money for Neverland, and Neverland has a potential to damage the money that the estate is bringing in, but it's beyond money. Michael Jackson, a black god that outthought them? No, sir, no, ma'am. He has to be destroyed. So statues of Michael Jackson, that black god that outthought them, has to come down. So that's what I see as the bigger threat that Michael Jackson posed. The king of pop was well within their control. They made billions from the king of pop. But a black man who outthought them and surrounded himself with Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, that was a intolerable level of insult to white supremacy. And so it's not, this is why you see today, it wasn't sufficient to murder him. They are going all around the world. They want his songs not played, any statue of him. They want it brought down. They want to totally demonize the man who made the mistake to boast about outthinking them. That's what I see, sister.
How you doing, Doc? My name is John Hill.
Brother John, honored to have you, Black God.
Thank you so much, man. I love all the research and everything that you put together. It's very, very enlightening. As a man in the entertainment business, a Grammy nominee myself.
Praise belongs to Allah.
My question would be, what would you, in your research, want to establish and or accomplish about what you brought to light about the autonomous regime of the, I want to say the all CNI?
Thank you. Thank you, Brother John. That is important. And there is a larger, I guess one could say, social objective of this. having close friends in the industry, having a 17-year-old son with talent and desirous to be in the industry. And through those avenues and other avenues, knowing the profound darkness of the industry. This was the most disturbing thing I've ever wrote, most difficult thing. And everyone who's read it it blow your high. It's dark, but I'm not a dark writer. The subject, Hollywood and the industry, is a very dark place. I've seen its effects close up. We've identified the architecture of the forces of darkness. When you see so many cases like hot rappers, like having a spiritual crisis, getting in the industry, being uber successful, right? What are those? Cisco, what group was Cisco in? Drew Hill, right? Uber successful, having spiritual crisis. They doing gospel now, right? Macy, successful. Bad Boy, when Bad Boy was hot, something happens, he leaves hip hop and becomes a preacher. Kanye. I didn't know what was behind that, but now I know these people really buck up against profoundly dark forces. And if you have reached the level where you're Grammy nominated, you know what I'm talking about. So, Drugola. That's why. The chemical assault, we are chemistry. I would venture to say 90% of what we are is chemistry, not just our physical body and the operation of our physiology, but our mental processes ultimately is chemistry. And so the sorcerers of evil are always organic chemists. The sorcerers of evil are always organic chemistry, because that's why it's not a question, it's a declaration. How to kill a god? Through chemistry. And I say that to say, so Drugola versus payola. That's how Whitney Houston was murdered. Clive Davis and Arista. But Drugola paying the artist with drugs. And they pay the artist with drugs in indirect ways, not just, all right, the straight quid pro quo, you give me this music, I give you drugs instead of money, but making the industry so you can avoid the drugs, and you're pressured to partake of the drugs, and you think you are recreationally engaged. There ain't no such thing as recreational drug use in Black America. That's a white privilege. Every drug that we think we are recreationally engaging in started as a CIA mind control weapon that specifically targeted us, including loud, just so y'all know, including loud. But so when the industry, before the lyrics were drug soaked, and so the D-boy in hip hop went from the drug dealer to the drug user. A totally counterintuitive transition for our culture. But when the D boy, the hot boy, right, went from drug dealer to drug abuser in the lyrics and then the performance of the artist, behind the scenes, that the drug cartel was already in control of Black life in the industry. So it's a very dark place. Sex, drug, but not just sex. No, the point. So, do you remember the Rape Over by Yasin Bey, Mos Def? I think it's 90 seconds. Song by Mos Def, one of the most powerful 60 to 90 seconds. Right? He lists the forces, Illuminati forces, if you will, in hip hop. And there's one line in there, quasi-homosexuals running this rap shit. It's really running this rap shit now. When Mos Def album dropped, immediately after its initial drop, the album was recalled and reprinted. When it was reprinted, it did not include the Rape Over. Well, who in that list of forces he called out in the Rape Over, who's responsible for that? Well, that's very easy. Mos Def was on Geffen Records. Which Geffen? David Geffen, head of the gay mafia. David Geffen, the head of the gay mafia, his fingerprint is all over hip hop. We have in here the architecture, a graph of the architecture of the so-called Illuminati in hip hop, the individuals who are in total control of the hip hop industry, and had the first tier, Len Blavatnik, Edgar Brofman, David Geffen, Sumner Redstone, and so all of the labels, all of hip hop, all of it, well, all of commercial hip hop, I say that. All commercial hip hop is in the hands of these people. And at the top of the tier, controlling all is Len Blavatnik, Edgar Brofman, David Geffen, Sumner Redstone. And that's so. The booty parties and the hip hop booty parties, the gay agenda in hip hop, and the drug agenda in hip hop. They're both real, they both emanate from the same sources. It's the same pedophiles that targeted Michael and killed Michael. So I say, so part of my agenda is through our brother Michael Jackson and what he suffered. Part of my agenda, again, as one who has close friends in the industry and has a son who desires to be in the industry, I do hope to expose the profound darkness of the industry, and then we make our choice. All of us, in whatever we do, we are in the valley of decisions, whether in the industry or not. But all of us are in a valley of decision in one way or another, and our life course will absolutely be determined by the decisions we make. the right decisions or the wrong decisions, and anyone in the industry or seeking to get in the industry, just know what you're dealing with. Know and be able to recognize the monsters in that haunted house. Just be able to recognize them. I do not say one cannot engage the industry and not surrender your soul. I do know it's hard, but it depends on what you hope to get out of the industry. If your objective in the industry is the bag, you're going to sell your soul. If your objective is the bag, if you on a paper chase, if you about your bag and rap, and you want to put on a dress, and rap or entertainment is your path that you chose to get your bag, you're gonna put on a dress, or it's affiliate activity, because they are letting you know there's no bag for you in this, except you be a slut, a bag getting slut, a nigga killing nigga, or a black queer. Those are three paths to the bag in hip hop. Well, ain't no other path. Let me tell you why I don't make that distinction, though I'm always criticized, and I understand. So my book is Marijuana Hip Hop and the Scientific Assault Against Black America. And I always hear the criticism, Brother Dr. Wesley, stop saying a weaponization of hip hop. Say the weaponization of rap. And I resist that every time. This is why. It's a false distinction in this context. It's a very false distinction because, yes, the lyrics of rap music have been weaponized, but what does that mean? The intent of the script handed to this rapper, say Future. The script handed to Future, his lyrics, right? Drug-soaked lyrics. So this rapper is spitting rap lyrics, but the aim is to get the culture to be drug-soaked. And the consequence is it's hip-hop culture that is celebrating drug abuse. No, the whole point of weaponizing rap is to weaponize hip-hop culture. And why weaponize hip-hop culture? Because hip-hop culture has always been a drumbeat of Black culture. You want to shape Black life in America, get control of hip-hop culture. And you get control of hip-hop culture by getting control of the artists and their lyrics. So that's a false distinction, hip-hop culture versus rap. The rapper is commandeered in order to shape the culture, to weaponize hip-hop culture against Black people. So it's Black people in the culture, Juice WRLD, who's dying of drugs, and he is doing drugs because the rap lyrics say do the drugs, and the enemy said put this in your rap lyrics. So the whole culture is drug soaked. The culture is a problem. Let me say, hip hop culture in 2020 is the problem. It is. So folks got mad at me. I think it was the BET Awards, the last BET Awards, when they had the rap battle, right? Not the cypher, it was a battle. And I was amazed. You know, rap battles. We all do our battle, you know, because of my nature. I'm a warrior who's now a soldier in distinction. But my warrior nature keeps me intellectually fighting. I love to fight, right? There's a testosterone in me. Males do that. So whether it's rap battle, whether it's intellectual battle, you know, we do that. That's all good. But I was jaw dropped with this one because in every case, it was niggas putting guns to niggas' heads, and all of the lyrics was, "Nigga, I'ma blow you out the water." The level of hostilities, that's different from braggadociousness in hip hop, right? Men and testosterone, we do that. What? But this was such a high level of hatred and violence. And I posted that. And the reason, if I was conflicted before that, I was convinced after that it's a false distinction between rap and hip hop culture. The reaction from hip hop culture to my critique of that, like, no, that's the culture. And you know what? I agree with you. The culture has been niggified.
That's right.
When hip hop became the culture of the nigga, hip hop culture became the problem. So that's why. Yeah, bro.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, man.
Dr. Wesley. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sister Jania Muhammad. So I've been following your research, right? And in some of your research, you talk about a golem or golem, right? And if I recall correctly, it's how to make
An artificial humanoid.
Artificial humanoid. Okay. And so I thought about that as you were talking about how to kill a god. And when Sister Janita brought up Dr. Klein
Arnold Klein, yes, ma'am.
and the medication that caused Michael to lose melanin, right? I recently was in a very intense discussion with someone about melanin, right? And the concept of, you know, Caucasians having a lack of melanin. And earlier, before we started talking about Michael Jackson, we talked about the coronavirus. And that's how the conversation kind of came up. And I was asked the question, does melanin protect us from the coronavirus? And so my answer was simply, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't do that. So I don't know. But it inspired thought, right? And so when Sister Janita brought up Dr. Klein and his making the decision for Michael to cause him to be white, it jarred that conversation back into my mind because it turned into, you know, lack of melanin doesn't make you a devil, right? And so it's interesting that the title of your research is How to Kill a God. Well, how do you kill a God but turn him into a devil, right? And because we are dealing with a kind of man who's a baby on the planet, he has to figure out what is this thing that Black people have that makes them gods that I don't have, that makes me a devil, right? So initially they take on the offense when the messenger calls them a devil, right? But then they have to look into themselves because they do know that there is something about them that is different. And the most obvious layman thing is color, right? And so how do I kill a god, right? And so we know, as we're taught, that Yaqub's experiment on the human race, you know, it took him 200 years to graft down and essentially 600 years to graft down to white, right? And so the lack of the presence of the melanin pigment in their cells, you know, layman's believe that that's what make them devil, right? They don't understand the entire grafting process. So your research in this case has inspired me to think further into that, because there is a chemical assault, right? But on how many levels, right? Because we're taught that we can't fathom the depths of Satan, right? And so to put in front of us an American Idol, for as long as I can remember, I have memories from Michael Jackson from when I could first listen to music all the way up to my daughter's 16 and she's a Michael Jackson fan, right? So to take this, and we've watched him morph into an androgynous, because you talked about that in your research, Caucasian, and as Sister Janita said, female, right? From the layman's eye. And that's a very clear attempt for them to kill a God by making him a devil, right? And because his actions didn't match his color, because in their experiment, they're like, okay, well, he doesn't have melanin anymore. He should be evil like us. He should be a devil. And because he's not, now we have to vilify him. So I guess I just want to let you know that you inspired that, but I also want some feedback from you based on the thought that was inspired. So.
Very great thoughts. You said a lot that is very important. Very great observations. First, let me offer a minor correction, because I think it's relevant to your point. White people are not white because they lack melanin. White folks dominate in a specific type of melanin, different from the type of melanin that dominates black people. Eumelanin versus pheomelanin. Brown melanin versus yellow melanin, yellow red. Black people have black skin because most of our melanin is eumelanin. Most of white people's melanin is pheomelanin. Now, the difference is not at all arbitrary. In the beginning stages of the production of the melanin, both eumelanin and pheomelanin follow the same course. But at a certain point, sulfur interferes. And from that point on, pheomelanin is produced. So pheomelanin is a melanin that has a sulfur content. And remember when the Venezuelan president at the United Nations, after George Bush spoke, he said, the devil just spoke here, you still smell the sulfur, because sulfur was always associated with the devil. And so it's not their lack of melanin that is part of the signature of there being devil. It's a specific melanin that they have, pheomelanin, with its sulfur content, and that's the reason they have the blonde hair. They're blonde people because that pheomelanin is yellow red. Melanin, and they are melanin envious. Pheomelanin is carcinogenic. Eumelanin is cancer protective. So they are melanin envious, not because they don't have melanin, but because they want the melanin we have. And why that's important in distinguishing a white person from what happened to Michael Jackson. Because Arnold Klein used spinoquin on Michael that destroyed melanin pigment altogether. And so Michael was very pasty. Michael was whiter than the average white person because that black god was robbed of melanin producing cells permanently. And so our melanin is what allows us to harmonize with the light-giving sun without being harmed by it. Melanin is why we are kissed by the sun and can kiss the sun, and the sun is a life giver. But this black god was made totally allergic to the sun because he was robbed of melanin. How to kill a god? And they robbed him of his melanin chemically. So the golem, again, the Jewish sources. What is the golem? Is what the Jewish Kabbalists, the Jewish possessors of the secret tradition of Judaism, it's their science of manipulating letters to produce a new atom, a new humanoid, a new type of human being. And the golem that is depicted in Jewish literature is always a black or brown skinned golem, because the process is to take raw material and use their mastery of these letters to shape a new human, which will be a slave and servant to them. Well, the letters that these Jewish sorcerers master is not the letters of the Hebrew language. It's the letters of the periodic table. And so, again, I make the point, every Jew who has his hand in the execution of this scientific assault is an organic chemist. Chemistry is their magic bullet. That's how you kill a god. That's how they made the black god Michael Jackson white, through chemistry. That's how they feminize the black god, through chemistry. That's how they murder the black god, through chemistry. So these Jewish sorcerers through chemistry produce the golem. That's the nigger. The nigger is the golem, the artificial humanoid of the Jewish sorcerers, the organic chemists. And so yes, melanin. And they've weaponized our melanin against us. And so they're melanin envy. So now they're talking about casting a white man to play Michael Jackson in a biopic. See, they know what they're doing. That's sweet to them. They made this black god one of us. And so they would depict him, use a white man to depict him. They know they made him whiter than white, more white than white people externally, because they robbed him of melanin producing cells. So I do think it's relevant, their assault on his melanin. And it's part of the bigger picture of the scientific assault on our melanin. And Michael Jackson in this case, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. In that specific case, Michael Jackson is Sinidoki of black people. They've assaulted, the way they assaulted his melanin gives us an idea of their objective in dealing with black people in general, the assault of the black god molecule, melanin. So thank you for those observations.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Brother Dr. Wesley. My name is Brother Lionel Muhammad. And
great to have you, Brother Lionel.
My question is real simple. Because I've been following your research, I've read your book. But what my concern is that I want to be able to get this material to those that are incarcerated, because I've traveled the country to prisons throughout this country, and it's essential for me to know that they have access to this kind of information so that those brothers that are on the inside can educate themselves on the significance of what it is that you're bringing to the attention of the masses of the people. So can you just speak briefly on how I can organize to get more of this material to brothers who are incarcerated and to sisters that's incarcerated without them, people say, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. They always say we don't have the money. But I want to make it available to those that I have access to throughout the country.
Thank you for that. I desire that as well. I want to point out there's an important chapter here entitled How the Philadelphia Prison System Scientifically Created a Homosexual Culture and Exported it into the Black community. Most of the scientific assault that we document was piloted first in the prison system. I was blessed to speak in several prisons to our people. Volume 1 has penetrated the prisons, but of course it's a prison by prison case. They have different requirements. There's some requests I can send it to the prison, but others I can't send it to that prison. So it's a prison by prison scenario, but we do have to get this light and all light, not just this, but light to our people in the belly of the beast. I will not suggest that I have formulated a strategy to do so, because it sounds like you're asking for a strategy, and I too would like a strategy. So whoever has something to offer in that regard, I'm happy to give ear to it, because we do want to touch our people there. The Muslims and America's, the prison system had a Black Muslim problem, and I document the prison system's Black Muslim problem. And because Islam has always been white supremacy's problem. And in fact, I say this, why did they weaponize hip hop? The real reason they weaponized hip hop was to mute the influence of the Nation of Islam in the Black community. The reason hip hop was weaponized was Farrakhan. The Farrakhan factor in particular is the reason hip hop was commandeered and weaponized to mute the influence of the Nation of Islam on Black culture. And so in the prisons, it was the Black Muslims who shut down the homosexual project in the prisons in Philadelphia. So I say that because that's also the reason why sometimes in many prisons we get resistance. The nation gets resistance in getting our material in and getting our presence in. So yeah, I'm definitely down for a strategy to be more successful in getting the material inside. But I cannot say I have that strategy worked out right now, Brother Lionel. Praise be to Allah.
Anyone else? Questions or statements?
No.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for this your presence here.
Peace and blessings. My name is Carmela Muhammad with the Foodie Spot, located at 7350 South Stony Island, Chicago. And we were blessed to be able to provide food for Doing the Math with Dr. Wesley.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our 3-part series. That was the final part where you got to see the talk back, as many people had questions, and Dr. Wesley really had the opportunity to go even deeper into it. So we're going to bring Dr. Wesley on right now again. So how was that?
That was deep.
Yeah, it was. It was.
That was a great way to kick off our season 4, man. That was excellent. That was so much fun. The audience was awesome. The conversation was great. The audience was elite, as you saw from the name tags, if you will. So that was the best way to kick off season 4.
I know. I think this is talking about how awesome and elite our audience is. This is another reason why when the coronavirus clears up and we're allowed to have gatherings again, people should come out. I mean, we've had Grammy nominees there, CEOs there. There were PR individuals. We had people who have been reformed and are leading national organizations there. So, I mean, the ones that ask the questions are just like a small minority of the type of brilliance that comes to the show. And then even when you look at our live audience, looking at the live audience questions, it's always interesting and a reminder to me to know how international we are. There's literally people on here right now from the UK. There are people from Germany. There are people from different African countries. Sometimes we have people from Latin America, Brazil, things like that. And so I'm just like, wow, we are an international show.
Right. That's right. All praises are due to Allah.
Indeed, indeed. Well, now we're going to transfer over into our Q&A and allow our audience to ask us some questions that maybe have not been touched on already. So we're going to take our first question right now, actually. Latasha Muhammad wants to know, so they gave him vertigo. Vertigo. Yes, thank you.
I don't have any reason to come to that conclusion, Sister Latasha. I believe he had it. He got it presumably naturally, and his way of dealing with it in the early days was to darken the splotches, if you will, maintain his dark complexion. And he, as I understand it, tried a number of methods to darken the spotches. They did grow over time. Then the decision was made by Dr. Arnold Klein to go in the reverse direction. But I have come across no reason to doubt that he had vertigo, nor have I come across reason to doubt that he had it naturally. But of course, I'm not willing to adjudicate that matter. I just don't have anything to say one way or the other. But he did have vertigo.
Thank you. And we'll take another question.
Well,
Oh, doesn't look like we have any more questions right now.
okay. Well, I thank the audience for riding with us for 3 days. This was
Oh, actually, hold on. So Gabriel has a question. He wants to know if "you" as in EU means new, as in Europe, unless I'm mistaken. Why is "you melanin" describes the melanin of darker people?
I have not done an etymological study of it to make the connection between you melanin and Europe from the perspective of our lessons. I don't know, brother Gabriel, good question, but I have not done an etymological study of the term you melanin to answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Well, that
But
does look like it was our last one too. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just wanted to thank everybody for taking this 3-day ride with us. I think you see, not only I think it ended up being 3 hours, the recording. Not that we did not do 3-hour shows in one sitting before, but the content matter here was so heavy. And so I think it was best to receive it in doses, in 3 doses, stretched out over 3 days, rather than the whole thing. So I appreciate the 3 episodes. I'm appreciative for all who rode with us.
Yeah, me too.
Days.
It was very thorough and very dense with research and information. So it was nice to tease that out and to just participate in this whole discussion. Oh, we have another question. Christopher wants to know, Doc, what are you working on right now? What do you have coming in the future as far as books?
So I'm like brother Christopher. I appreciate you. I appreciate the question. I'm gonna have to be candid with you. The COVID-19 report has so exhausted me. The preparation of it has so exhausted me. I'm not doing nothing right now. And I don't know, when Allah gives me the spirit to get back in the lab and give me direction, then that's where I will go, because all of my projects came to me by Allah putting a spirit in me. I wasn't looking for any of these subjects to do. I really wasn't. I wasn't looking for any of these subjects that I produce reports on. And the COVID-19 report was very, very thorough, very, very exhausting. And so I'm not working on anything. I'm taking a breath right now. And what will be the next project? I honestly cannot say that. It depends on what Allah puts on my heart.
Oh, look at all these questions coming on in. Yes, people, take advantage of this time right now. Take advantage of it. All right. Troy Muhammad says Dick Gregory made the claim that MJ reached out to him before he was killed, and I believe he said he even took him to the hospital in belief he was poisoned. Have you heard that?
Yes. May Allah be pleased with brother Dick Gregory. Brother Dick Gregory was close to Michael Jackson. Dick Gregory did reveal that Michael Jackson was afraid to eat out of fear that he would be poisoned, because Michael Jackson for years lived with the knowledge of the inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
That he was going to be murdered, and he told pretty much all of those around him that he was going to be murdered, and who, and even how. Poisoned. He feared and knew that he would die like Elvis. Elvis was a victim of a syringe job. Murder by chemical assassination, either chemical injection or chemical ingestion through drugs. And that's exactly how Michael Jackson was murdered. Now, Dick Gregory, mentions a laser at, I don't, may Allah be pleased with our brother.
Mm-hmm.
But regarding Michael Jackson, even regarding Malcolm X, our brother's body of work, meaning Dick Gregory,
Mm-hmm.
I love him, but since you asked, I just have to be candid. I just got to say it how it is. I can never quote Dick Gregory without vetting what Dick Gregory has said first. If you hear me quoted Dick Gregory, it's because I found corroborating sources. Because our brother Dick Gregory at a later stage, he took liberties. He did.
Craig says, is there a chemical in the synthetic marijuana people are smoking that makes them more prone to violence? Oh, this is your territory right here.
So, yes, but you got to understand something very important. All violence isn't created equal. So I'm going to say this, and some will probably get offended, but it's not my intent to offend, but I'm not really tripping right now. I'm exhausted. So I'm going to say it anyway. I hope you're right. But all violence ain't created equal.
Mm-hmm.
There's masculine violence and there's a feminine violence prototype. Premeditated versus reactionary violence. Violence, strategic violence versus emotional reactive violence. And that's the reactive, emotional reactive, the impulsive violence, which is a phenotype violence. That is the violence that the synthetic weed or weaponized weed generates. And what is the chemical? Well, it starts with that THC, the enhanced THC, because it's not that the THC stimulates violence, but the THC drops testosterone, and that THC diminishes serotonin. And in the book, or both books, we document the serotonin, the brain chemical serotonin, is a chemical that puts the brakes on our impulse.
Mm-hmm.
If you diminish serotonin, then you are liable to fall victim to impulse passion, and then impulse violence. And so Black violence is very impulsive. Black violence is the violence that's the signature of non-dominant men. It ain't the signature. We don't do dominant male violence. Just keep that real. we don't do the premeditated strategic violence. We do emotional impulsive violence. We do violence of passion. And that the convergence in the weaponized weed of the excessive THC, which diminishes both serotonin and testosterone in a man, and the estrogen, the estrogenic chemicals in the weed smoke produced when you put fire to that weaponized marijuana. The smoke has estrogenic chemicals in it. And so we're inhaling and being estrogenized. So yes, too many black men, I'm not talking about homosexual. That's why when I say we feminizes the black man, y'all went sexual. Y'all said, Dr. Wesley Muhammad said weed makes you gay. That's sexual. I wasn't going there. Y'all went there. I wasn't thinking sexual. The first stage, or the most popular or widespread stage of feminization of black men caused by weed is not homosexualization. It's hyper emotionality. And that's at the root of black violence. The violence that we engage in, it ain't alpha male violence. It's epsilon male violence. It's non-dominant male violence. It's emotional, it's impulsive. It's, nigga, you disrespected me. I'ma kill you right now. Nigga, you looked at my woman. What, nigga, what? Yeah. So yes, it's the THC. It's the chemical is the chemical, which is the reason for which we smoke weed. But it's that very chemical THC. It's not something extra added to the weed. It's the excessive amount of the natural chemical in the weed, that THC, which is the problem.
Now, we actually had a show where we discussed this and talked about bully cooning. And on that, we used Power, which was a really great TV show, popular TV show, as an example. And so using that show again.
I watched every single episode. I'm glad it's over because it was hard.
There's going to be a sequel, I think. I think there's a sequel to it. I think there's a sequel to it now. Yeah, about how Ghost and them all met. Yeah. But my question though is using Power again as an example. In that TV show, we did see Ghost and Tommy plan out premeditated murders, right? And so you said that the violence that we often see in our community isn't premeditated, so it's not an example of
fantasy. Be real clear.
Right.
Power is black folks' wet dream. I'm sorry to use that language, but that's us fantasizing. Be real clear. Shout out to 50 Cent. But everything about that show is black fantasizing. That ain't so. Ghost is made, and that's why it was so popular, because Ghost is in no way the prototype of the black thug of Southside Chicago, the black thug of Detroit. No, his profile was total black fantasy. By which I'm not saying that that it does not exist.
Right.
I'm not saying that. Because there's no black profile that anyone can say absolutely doesn't exist in Black America. We got some other things. So yes, it exists, but be real clear. That ain't the typical black thug, especially today, especially the street thug.
Right.
Ghost was, because remember, it's black fantasy, because until the last episode or when it was killed, Ghost won every single circumstance.
That is true. He always got a way out. Yeah.
Everything. So that's why I watched every episode, because I invested my fantasies in Ghost. I want to win every circumstance like Ghost. So no, it wasn't that ghost did not represent
the type of violence we're discussing.
Oh, absolutely.
So Gabriel has another question. Shout out to Gabriel. He's one of our Patreons. We appreciate you. He wants to know, Doc, do you know if Navy beans can counterweight the weed's effect for Black men? Meaning that if they keep smoking it while eating Navy beans, they won't be so much chemically affected by the chemicals in cannabis. Huh.
So, no man can serve two masters. You gotta love one or hate the other. So the weaponized weed diminishes testosterone in a man. The Navy bean helps normalize testosterone levels in men. So you want to, I'm not saying you, but just whatever. You want to smoke your blunt and eat Navy bean soup, hoping that will counter the effect. Chances are you're smoking more weed than you're eating bean soup. And so, no, I would not suggest that as a viable course of action. Make your choice. Now, the Navy bean is reparative in the sense we got to eat the right amount, but we have to stop doing what we should. Stop doing what is harmful and start doing what is helpful. If we want to serve two masters, that's never going to turn out well for us.
Right. Thomas Horn says, in your research, you mentioned several other entertainers who have been victimized by the gay mafia in Hollywood that are just not Black entertainers, but Caucasian entertainers as well. What do you hope that Caucasians can gain from the reality and the facts within your research that they are victims of Hollywood and the gay mafia?
The underbelly of Hollywood is dark for everybody. Remember, Howard Weinstein's victims, those were largely white women that he was preying upon. They were victimized. Bryan Singer's twinks, those are young white boys. So, no, the evil of Satan isn't restricted to a demographic. The evil underbelly of Hollywood is dark for everybody who encounters it. So, what do I hope Caucasians can gain from the reality? Well, anyone who wants to have a relationship with Hollywood or with the industry has to know what it is you're into. And may God go with you. Brother Gabe, I know you're not a drug taker, otherwise you wouldn't be such a powerful, a great Patreon supporter. I got too many weed heads that subscribe to my Patreon, so I already know, beloved.
But just a follow up to his question, though, there has been research that says that marijuana and weed have been very helpful for people who have terminal diseases like cancer, ulcerative colitis, and things like that. So how can someone what should someone do who has an illness, an underlying illness, who cannabis does actually treat, then so they're not feminized by the weed, if it is an actually good treatment for them?
So first thing, that's why, again, God is in the details. And truth resides in nuance. That's why we need to use specific language. It is not the case that studies have shown that loud has medicinal effects. It does not. There are chemicals that have medicinal effect for example, nausea in those battling symptoms of cancer and symptoms of MS. I received a call from a close friend, young brother. He developed multiple sclerosis at a very young age. His doctor wanted to give him some medicinal marijuana to ease some of the symptoms. And he called me, wanted to know, he heard my presentation. So he wanted to know, Doc, should I? And I said, I had to tell him, medicine is medicine. If you have an illness and you're in pain, whatever, none of the chemicals, if I suffer an illness and am admitted into a hospital, they're going to give me chemicals. If they need to, I've been in a hospital and I need some pain relief. That's drugs.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, while I was getting that heroin, that morphine, I wasn't thinking about the testosterone conspiracy and the estrogen assault. But because that was a medical condition, that a medical application was appropriate in that situation. If I leave there and start smoking heroin, have to do heroin, that's very different.
Right.
So of course I had to tell my brother, whatever you have a illness, whatever chemistry will be helpful to you. I would never tell you to not avail yourself to it, whether it's marijuana or whether it's morphine or a cocaine derivative. But we have to, we can't throw the blanket statement out. Studies have said marijuana is medicinal. Because dudes think the blunt they smoking is medicinal. That's what that's talking about. No, that ain't what that's talking about. Loud ain't medicinal. it ain't. Loud is weaponized. So that point has to be made. We have to be real specific. THC is medicinal when it is in proper relation with CBD, and it has an entourage effect. And so THC has medicinal value, but the whole point of loud is to free THC from the control and influence of CBD, increase THC so we can get high. That THC has the opposite effect of medicinal. Okay. So because the study says that that THC has shown some therapeutic value in this context, but that THC that showed therapeutic value is what, 0.2 or 2 point? It ain't the 14 and 20. So we can't throw that fact around abstracted from its proper context.
Thank you. We have another question, and it says, Dr. Wesley, I recently had a conversation with the vegan, and I was explaining to them how most of the vegan diet is dominated by soy. Can you explain the relationship between soy and the assault on the black male, since soy is pretty much in every product served in the black community?
Yeah,
soy is even in hot sauce.
Yeah, soy is the devil. And because soy in the body becomes estrogenic, and soy is a great feminizer. And this is why 60% of products in the grocery store who have no business having soy in them have soy in them. And we can't talk about soy in this context in terms of the vegans.
Mm-hmm.
And soy, because you're right, so much of the vegan diet is soy, but it is what it is. The Dr. Sebi diet replaces soy with the chickpea. The chickpea has the same estrogenic effect that soy does. So that diet, that vegan diet, you don't do soy, but you do chickpea. Well, you might as well do soy. Chickpea, in fact, scientifically serves as a substitute for soy because it has the same estrogenic value. So yes, so much of these vegan diets are very feminizing diets because of the choices made. You replace meat proteins, and we should replace meat proteins, no doubt. Meat, we should be vegetarians, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But your observation is correct. There's so much of the vegan diet, especially the Black vegan diet, is soy heavy and chickpea heavy. And both of those are major feminizers.
David wants to know, Dr. Muhammad, in your book, you mentioned that the chemical atrazine stays permanently binded to your blood. Is there any way to expel the chemical from the body, or is it always going to be in the body? Sorry if I got the chemicals wrong.
So I don't know how to chelate, what they call it, atrazine, but the chemical that I spoke of was paraquat. I spoke of paraquat, which is sprayed on weed. Some have said I have not come across evidence of weed being sprayed with atrazine. The chemical that I document is paraquat. And I document that paraquat has a melanin affinity, and that this chemical paraquat, this cancerous chemical, does bind tightly to melanated tissues. Are there ways to chelate or to expel paraquat from our bodies, to expel atrazine from our bodies? I hope so, but Brother David, I don't have that knowledge at this point.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. And that actually was our last question for the evening. So we are going to conclude. I want to thank everybody for tuning into us as you got to see our season 4 premiere. And now for those of you who are new, you got to see how awesome this show is and why you need to tune in. If you haven't caught the other 2 episodes, you are in luck, because this evening or in the morning, you can catch them on NFAstudios.com. That's NFAstudios.com. We'll probably stream it at the bottom so you could see. And you can also go to our YouTube page and subscribe and like that and see a couple episodes as well. Dr. Wesley, where can people go to get your book?
All right. And let me, I do need to see this for that.
Oh, go ahead.
Was mentioning that's right. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did tell us, just general, I don't know in regards to the specific chemicals, but the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to fast, and fasting purifies the body. So can I say that I know that fasting this amount of days or that amount of days will chelate or expel paraquat from the body. I don't know that. No. However, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did teach us that fasting and 1 meal a day is the best therapeutic for our body. So I would offer that as what we should be trying. Though I don't offer that as a direct answer because I don't know the answer how to expel paraquat from the body. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said fasting and 1 meal a day is the best therapeutic. So please, family, subscribe to our webpage,
yes.
drwesley.online, drwesley.online. There you can download our PDF files and you can order our material.
Yes, and you can also join our awesome Patreon list by going to patreon.com/dothematthtv. We are very grateful for all of your contributions because without you, we would not be able to make this international masterpiece that we have going on and bring on all of our awesome guests that have come in along with providing a live talkback that we feed people at. So, yeah, we thank you all for everything that you're doing for us.
Thank you all. And thank you, Sister Janita.
Thank you, Dr. Wesley. All right, powerful creators, until next time.
America was not built on a firm foundation. The nation called America was doomed from its inception. How do you build a nation? Killing the native people. How do you build a nation? Bringing a whole people out of Africa to America to be made slaves. This is your foundation. The world is looking at a country going to hell. You are opting to be a part of that is unraveling right in front of your eyes. You see the country cascading downward. This is America. Why do you want to get into something that is coming to an end? So we are living in the time of the unraveling of this great nation.